So we like to have fun on this podcast.
Yeah.
But sometimes, gotta get serious.
You always have to get serious.
Well, since we're in a interesting time right now, the time being the time of COVID and the pandemic, I would just like to share that I have been vaccinated. Just think, some people are concerned. I mean, rightfully so, understandably so.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten 1 dose of the Moderna, and I'm getting the 2nd dose in about 3 days.
Yeah. And I was vaccinated back in early February. I work for a hospital. So, and our mom was vaccinated in...
November.
No, December.
I thought it was before Thanksgiving.
No, it was like end of December.
Regardless, she was like one of the first people vaccinated.
Yeah. She's a frontline worker on a COVID unit at a hospital. So yeah, I mean, we both got Pfizer. I think there's a lot of... I understand why people are hesitant because it's new.
It is not technically FDA approved in the sense that it's had enough clinical testing.
Right.
Certainly it was approved for emergency use, which, I mean, given the circumstances, completely reasonable to be, approved for emergency use.
Yeah, but I think it's important that people, share their experiences.
Right, for people who maybe don't know anyone who's been vaccinated or uncomfortable or don't have a way to either trust information or know, And also I think it's important to know that there's not necessarily, a right vaccine.
Right.
It's not. I know some people are hesitant about the Johnson & Johnson one because it's only 1 shot and...
Yeah, and I think it's important. Granted, neither of us are medical professionals.
Correct.
But I think, from what I've been reading and kind of what the research has shown is that any sort of protection is going to be better than nothing.
Right. Getting the vaccine doesn't mean that you won't get COVID, but it certainly will lower your risks of having to have serious medical care or hospitalization.
Yeah. I don't know. I've talked with a lot of people who either, one, don't trust, what they hear in the media, which is fair because, I mean, these past 4 years specifically have just been a disaster when it comes to reliability in the media.
There certainly is a lot of misinformation on all fronts. Certainly.
And also, some of the concerns, too, is, if it's been tested on a wide range of people...
Of different genders, races.
Basically not just specifically on white. You have to wonder if it's how diverse the pool of people in the research studies were.
Especially also because it's like an RNA vaccine, that is a newer concept. So, it's important to be able to make sure that the testing is done as effectively as possible on as many different groups of people as possible. Yeah.
But, I mean, I think from 2 people who have been... fully vaccinated and partially vaccinated, at least me, it's like I think as many people that can get vaccinated, the better it's going to be for everyone.
Right.
It's not just getting vaccinated to protect yourself.
It's protecting other people that you care about and who are certainly more vulnerable to COVID than I am.
Right.
We sadly lost our grandpa to COVID almost a year ago, exactly to this date that we're recording. And... it sucks.
Yeah.
We still haven't buried him.
Yeah.
It's been a year. And I certainly am not a medical professional, and I cannot tell you that you should get a vaccine, but I just think that if you are unsure and if you're going to get one or not, that you do as much research as possible and just think about protecting people that you care about who certainly may not survive if they get it.
And, the people who weren't able to get it, who didn't get the chance to get it. But yeah, I mean, I would just recommend, there's a lot of resources online. I would try a bunch of different sources. You don't just want to trust the first source you read.
I would go on multiple websites.
Yeah. And certainly think about it. I mean, there's certain cases where people probably shouldn't get it.
Certainly. People are pregnant. I know they don't really want people who are pregnant to get it.
And there's certain people who have issues with allergies where right now it's kind of in limbo. So obviously, if you have a medical professional, definitely, talk with them if you have concerns. Right. But yeah, it's certainly something to look into and definitely consider.
Yeah. That's just a public service announcement. I know we usually like to be funny and have fun, but sometimes you use our shitty small platform for something,
Yeah. I almost think it'd be cool to do some sort of for our listeners, like if they let us know they're planning on getting vaccinated, one of them could win some sort of gift card or some sort of like little giveaway.
Yeah, maybe we'll do something
cool.
like that.
Yeah.
Or if they're even if they don't have gotten or not able to get vaccinated,
right? Just if they're planning on it.
Maybe we'll post something about that with social media when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
And I think that would be nice.
Something to consider.
Yeah, something to consider. Personalized gift from yours truly.
Autographed photo of us.
Something like
That's
that.
the best prize anyone could win.
I mean, really.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yes. We'll send you a good classic photo of us as children.
Yes.
All right. Bum 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 da na na do 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 do. I know we're not talking about football, but it's sports fans' time.
Sports. So for all of you who...
Sports fans rise up.
Sports fans. So for all of you who are tired of listening to us talk about 2000s teen dramas and...
women's stuff.
Right. First time we're tackling sports.
We should say that this is Research Rank Repeat. I'm Melissa.
I'm Hannah.
And we're both sports fans sometimes. Hannah certainly is more of a sports fan than I am, but she's also not the one wearing an NHL jersey right now.
I got an NHL t-shirt on.
Yes. Talking hockey.
Hockey. We certainly grew up loving hockey.
It certainly helped that we had a great hockey team.
Yeah.
For our hometown.
We will get to that later.
Yes, we will certainly get to that later.
We also had cousins who played hockey growing up.
Yes.
So certainly sports were a big part of our lives.
Certainly.
And watching sports, like I remember watching Stanley Cup games, getting to stay up late.
We essentially were allowed to stay up late for two things growing up: American Idol and sports championships, whether it be playoffs, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stanley
Cup, NBA Finals, baseball, World Series. Those were our exceptions to our bedtime when we were younger.
Yeah, and so originally we had planned on ranking the NHL home and away jerseys for every team.
Yes.
We were having a little bit of a hard time finding a place where we can view all of them.
Right, since it's hard to compare as we have to look at both home and away collectively. That's what we'd like to do. And so we'll plan on doing that at some point in the future, but we're just trying to find an easier method to allow us to do that.
Yeah, and so I thought of, NHL logos.
Which are usually on the jerseys.
Right, so every team has their own NHL logo. We thought it'd be fun to kind of go through and rank all of them. This one is not a super, serious, we didn't do a ton of research into this, obviously.
Right.
This is more just, I guess, personal preference. But yeah, so this is going to be a bit more of a personal preference kind of thing.
Certainly. I'm going to be upfront and say some of these I rank to lower solely on the fact that I hate the teams.
Yeah, that's fair.
And a rivalry standpoint.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. So I'm just going to do a little bit of background. I could not find a lot of background specifically on NHL logos.
Is it in a general sense?
Yeah, but I just did get a little bit of NHL background. So it was formed in 1917, and originally the first season consisted of 4 teams, which was the Montreal Canadiens, the Montreal Wanderers, the Ottawa Senators, and the Toronto Hockey Club.
Essentially, what you need to know, if you know nothing about hockey, is that it's Canada's sport.
Yes. And like everything America does, they took it and made it a little bit worse.
Yes. Accurate.
So by 1942, there was the original 6. There was only 6 teams that played at the time. That would be Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, Boston Bruins, Chicago Blackhawks, Detroit Red Wings, and the New York Rangers. As of today, there are 31 teams, soon to be 32 with the Seattle Krakens.
Yes, the newest edition. They have not yet played, though.
No, they have not. But we are including their logo because it has been released.
Yes, they have an official logo, so we will be adding it to our rankings.
So out of the 31 teams, 7 of them are Canadian teams. And a lot of the teams have changed their logo designs over the years.
I certainly noticed that as I was looking up
Right.
And certainly you can see a lot of logos had multiple evolutions over the years, especially teams that have been around since like the 30s.
Yeah.
You know, that's
it's
almost
interesting
100 years.
though, a lot of the original 6 teams have not done a lot of updating on their logos.
I noticed that. Specifically, I'll talk about just the Toronto Maple Leafs because that's one of the logos I looked at. They went back to their logo.
Yeah.
So the logo they currently have is reminiscent of a logo they used before like the 1970s. I was just browsing and they had one logo they'd used for almost 30 years and then switched back to an older similar to an older design.
Yeah.
But yes, it is interesting that those teams tend to pretty much have the exact same logos.
Yeah. And a lot of times too with like the jerseys as well. Not a lot of changes, which is interesting. I think some of the teams that have made logo changes, which I'll get to, were not smart decisions.
Yeah.
There's one team in particular I'm thinking about. But yeah, we're just going to go through. We are going to rank all 32, including the Seattle Kraken.
Right. And this is going to be biased. If you're a Donna Sports fan, it doesn't really matter. You don't care. But certainly, if people have certain teams that are like their team and we rank it low, it's not a personal attack on your team. It's just personal preference. There are certain things about logos that I like and dislike, just on a personal level. So this is just for fun.
I think you should start.
Okay. So I just have I know what your last logo is, and I would like to have a discussion about it.
Okay.
It's not my last pick because there are 2 logos I just specifically hate, and then I have that logo as number 30.
Okay.
So my 32 pick, I did the Washington Capitals. I would like you to now scroll to the Washington Capitals logo. So
we also do have these logos up on another computer just so we can...
The Washington Capitals is just essentially the words Washington Capitals with a hockey stick. And that's maybe one of the most low-budget logos I've ever seen in my entire life. I do not like logos that are just words. There's nothing interesting about the design. You could make that a Microsoft Word and make it look like that. And I just don't think there's anything original about it. Now Hannah's number 32 logo is the Chicago Blackhawks.
And I would like to say that it's not specifically like the color or anything, because if we're being honest, I think it's one of the better looking logos.
I did some research into it. It was ranked the number 1 NHL logo in 2008 and 2014 in ranking lists. Done by Hockey Association.
The reason I have it as number 32 is because we're in 2021. It's culturally insensitive.
Yeah, so I put it as number 30. Certainly, in an objective sense, it is a very appealing logo.
I agree.
It's very colorful. It's just designed well. But certainly, every other sports team that has used Native American influences have changed both their names and their designs and their nicknames and their logos, except for the Blackhawks. They're the only ones that haven't. And I read something from the end of 2020 that the CEO said that they don't have any intentions of changing both their name or the logo. Now, they have banned the use of wearing headdresses in the stadium because they say that they're trying to become more, to not be culturally insensitive, and they want to, promote the history of Black Hawk, which was a person who existed. And people take issue with the logo because it is a caricature of this person. They're like, it does not look like him. It does not look like Black Hawk. This is a design that is a caricature of Native Americans.
I also think the fact that they're capitalizing off of it.
Yes.
And using that for money, and I doubt any of that money is going back to...
I'm not positive. I know that they've set up some associations and some things with local Native tribes and groups.
But this would have just been recently.
This was in 2020.
Right, so...
I think due to the fact that every other sports team that, the Redskins, clearly that's a offensive term.
Right.
That is offensive, and their logo, the Indians... offensive, the logo was offensive,
Yeah.
While I think that the lengths they are going to try to not be culturally insensitive is good, I still think that inevitably this logo is not going to exist in a certain amount of time.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just going to be like...
Yeah.
I would just like to point out that of all the sports organizations, the NHL is the worst at promoting things like...
Well, it's one of the least diverse group of athletes.
Yes.
And I think they're not too on the forefront of addressing racism, addressing issues within the organization,
correct,
within the fan bases,
within the country, both Canada and the United States both have, issues with racism and other sort of things.
I mean, you can think what you want. I understand people's arguments that, it's just a logo, it's just a name. But how I feel about it, I didn't feel like I could rank it higher, even though I think it's aesthetically, when you look at it, I think it's one of the better logos out there in terms of color and everything, but, with everything with it, I just couldn't really go higher than that.
Which is fair. Yeah, which is why I said it's historically one of the most known sports logos, just in a general sense. Again, because the team's been around since the 1930s, or by the 1930s, and certainly has been ranked high in just general ranking logos. But I certainly agree that I personally didn't feel like I could rank it that high just because of the controversies surrounding the logo itself.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. So number 31, right? Because you did?
Yes, because I had 32, yeah.
Okay, so number 31, I went with the Anaheim Ducks.
Okay.
There's a specific reason being that when you look at it, it's not really that appealing. It's a D...
made to look like a duck foot.
Right, but the reason I think that I have it so far down is because they had one of the best logos. Originally, they had like a Mighty Ducks inspired logo, basically.
No, it was the Mighty Ducks logo.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, inspired from
Mighty Ducks movie. Literally the logo from the Mighty Ducks movie series, and they used it for their team.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the best looking logos in the league, if I'm being honest.
And color-wise. Yeah. Great.
And they decided to switch it up, and I don't think it's a good idea. So I put them down at the bottom.
Yeah, they decided to rebrand, and incorrect choice. I agree. Number 31, Minnesota Wild. I cannot stand the color scheme of Minnesota Wild. The jerseys are atrocious. I hate it. I don't know what it is. I just have a certain bias. Like, the actual design itself isn't bad, but it's just like green and red and yellow. I just don't like it. It's just a vendetta against the jerseys themselves and, in turn, the logo.
Okay. So number 30, I went with the Dallas Stars. To me, it's pretty plain. It's essentially just the letter D inside of a star. I think it's kind of boring. I think it's kind of... It doesn't look like there was that much effort put into it. I feel like that's something I could have made a couple, like maybe an hour or two in Photoshop. So I'm not overly impressed with it. I'm not also a huge fan of the color. It's sometimes hard to even tell what you're looking at.
Yeah, so number 30, mine was the Chicago Blackhawks, which we've already discussed, so.
Yeah. Okay, so number 29. Oh, wait, you're supposed to be starting.
Oh, yeah, I am supposed to be starting. So 29, I went with the Edmonton Oilers. And again, this is just a thing where I just really don't like logos with, like, words in them. Mm-hmm. And I also the logo itself just isn't really appealing to me. It's a circle with some words in it and, like, a drop of oil. But there's nothing really exciting. There's nothing that really pops out to me. It's just kind of plain. Mm-hmm. Just was boring.
Yeah. Number 29, I went with the Ottawa Senators. And I don't really know specifically what it is about this logo. I don't know if it's the color scheme. I'm not really sure. But something about it I just don't like. Like, it doesn't sit right with me.
So for number 28, and this might be a controversial pick, but I did the Montreal Canadiens, which is essentially a C with an H in the middle. I don't know if it's because I just think of the Cubs logo, which again is just a red C. Mm-hmm. And I know this is one of the original hockey teams, and I don't know if that's the logo that's been used the entirety of the time.
I think that one I was reading, they've done a little bit of variations to it, but it's pretty much kind of been like that.
I don't know. It's just like red and white and like lines, and it's just, there's nothing like really wrong with it. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's what I was kind of like with Ottawa. So number 28, I went with the Vancouver Canucks. I kind of think it just looks like a half-assed job was done on it, to be honest. Like, I know that sounds rude, but I just don't like how Vancouver's just written over top of the logo. I'm with you. I'm not a huge fan of them just putting the name right in the logo, except for certain circumstances.
Certain circumstances, I agree, it does work.
But it's just, literally Vancouver's just hanging over top of a... Is that a Canuck? I guess I don't know what a Canuck is.
Sure.
But it I don't think it looks good. I don't think the color's good. I just think it looks like something like maybe a kid might have made.
Okay.
If a kid did make it, I'm sorry, I apologize, because that's actually...
like a child.
That's actually like, if a kid made it, that's actually kind of cool.
Right,
but still, I don't think that's the
contest.
case.
So I have for number 27, I have the New York Islanders. The colors aren't right. It's like blue and orange and white. And they went for like a stylized approach. And I can respect that it certainly is unique in design and style. It just, I don't know. It doesn't really appeal to me. That's about it.
Okay. This is shaping up to be a bit interesting.
No, it's interesting because some of the ones you said are pretty higher up on my list. And I think some of the ones I've said are higher up on your list.
That's why I kind of figured we might have this case, because it's very much just a personal preference for this.
It's just solely based on the logo. Yeah.
Okay, so number 27, I went with the Florida Panthers. I don't think that it looks like a hockey logo. It kind of looks like a travel soccer logo.
I actually thought it looks like a professional soccer logo.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Certainly. And I think that's why it bothers me. Out of if you look at them all as a collective group, it kind of sticks out, but not in a good way. I also don't like the red coloring on it. I think it's just kind of like thrown together, and I don't think it looks that good as like a collective. When you just look at it, it's not that appealing to me.
So for number 26, I did the Columbus Blue Jackets. I just don't understand what's happening with the logo. It looks like it's almost like a star with like an American flag around it in like a circle.
I guess I'm not sure what the blue jacket...
Yeah.
Where that's represented.
I don't exactly know either, but it just seems odd, and it didn't really work for me. Color scheme is fine. It's just, I don't know, I didn't like the design of the logo.
So number 26, I went with the Edmonton Oilers. I pretty much agree with everything you said. It doesn't look good. I also just like the weird drop of oil at the top. I understand they're the Oilers, but I don't think it's that impressive.
So for number 25, I did the Anaheim Ducks. And while I certainly agree that out of protest, I put it this low, because in a general sense, I don't really like singular letter logos unless there's something special about them, because I do have single letter logos ranked really high on my list, but it's for specific reasons. This one, however, it's cool that it's a duck foot. I wish it was orange or yellow, but the old logo, it just was fun and exciting and looked cool.
Yeah.
Certainly the better bird logo of the bird logos. Yeah. And so I just had to, out of protest, put it this low.
So number 25, I went with the Los Angeles Kings. The reason being is I think it's just really basic. It's essentially just a black crest with the letters LA in the middle. I just don't think that... I think they could have done more with it, is kind of why it bothers me. So I just think it was a little bit of a lazy attempt at a logo.
So for number 24, I have the Dallas Stars, and I agree with what you said, is that it just is kind of boring. It's just a star and a D. The colors, I don't know, I don't really like the green in a general sense. It's just not interesting. Mm-hmm. It's another one of those things where it's a single letter logo, but it's just adding a star to it doesn't really make it better than just a D, like with the Ducks, Yep.
Number 24, I went with the St. Louis Blues. So I do actually like the music note. I think that's a cool idea. I think the problem I have is the color. It's really light. I don't even know what color it is. It's a bluish, greenish, but then there's a yellow border around it. And every time I looked at it, I just wanted to look away from the color. But I do like the actual note itself, the music note. I think is pretty cool.
So for number 23, I have the New Jersey Devils. I just don't get what the logo is going for. I don't know if it's supposed to be a D and a J and a D, or I know there's devil horns at the top, but I can't follow the design of the actual inside part. It's a red grouping of DJ, I don't really know what letter it's supposed to be around a blue circle, and I just, like, I don't know, I just wasn't appealing to me to look at.
Fair. So number 23, I went with Washington Capitals. I do agree with you. I think that it does look a little bit, like, cheap. But I think the only thing that saved it for me was I do like the hockey stick being incorporated into the lettering. I think that some of those where they just put the name above, they didn't even try to incorporate the name into the logo, so I appreciate the effort of that. But I agree, it does look pretty, like, child-made, not put a lot of effort into it.
So for number 22, I have Colorado Avalanche. This is kind of a bias because it's the Avalanche, and growing up in the 90s watching hockey, it was a spoiler alert. We grew up watching the Red Wings at this point. I think if you don't know we're from Michigan, we've said enough things about Michigan.
Yes.
Anyway, the Avalanche were Detroit's biggest rivals in the 90s, certainly, and when we were growing up watching hockey, so I just, like, you have to hate them, you know, and certainly the rivalry isn't there, and certainly Detroit's not, like, anywhere near as good as they used to be, so in a general sense, I'm not, again, it's another letter thing, and I think it's, like, the color scheme doesn't really work for me. It's certainly one of the better designed letters in a general sense, but I wish the color scheme was a little different.
Yeah. Okay, so number 22, I went with Calgary Flames. I actually really like to see how they added the flame coming out the back of it, but I cannot stand that color of red. It's almost like an orange red, and the yellow with it, like, I've always had an issue with red writing and stuff, like my eyes cannot adjust to it, so when I looked at that, I literally was like, I feel like I'm being blinded by it.
We finally got on the same page. Number 21, almost the same number.
Almost.
But number 21, I put the Calgary Flames for a similar reason. It's just another letter, and the flames, while they work, it's so bright red and, like, orange, and it's red in a way that doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I think you're right, and I'm similar where red writing is really hard for me to read. It just reminds me of, like, a hot rod, like a sports car, and I don't know, it just doesn't necessarily work for me.
So number 21, I went with the Winnipeg Jets. I think my biggest problem with this logo is inside the circle of it, there's a lot of white, and you can't even really tell what the inside of it is until you look really closely, and then you can tell it's a jet with a leaf. But it's so hard to even focus your eyes on it because it's just the like white around it is just really distracting. So that was kind of why I did it there.
Number 20, I did Tampa Bay Lightning. The reason why is it's another issue where you just have Tampa Bay at the top, and then a lightning bolt. And it's not interesting enough. It's a little basic. I mean, the colors are fine, but it's one of those things where it's just the title at the top, and then, like, a kind of too basic logo that it's not terrible, but it just, like, doesn't really work for me.
Number 20, I went with the New York Rangers. So I actually do like the color combination. The New York Rangers written inside the logo, it doesn't really work for me in this one. I also think the red's a little bit distracting in there as well. But I'm just not overly impressed with it. I think that it's a decent logo. I just think that it's pretty basic.
So for number 19, I have the Winnipeg Jets. And it's kind of a similar thing to you where it's just kind of hard to tell. Like, at first I thought it was a leaf. I thought I was looking at the Maple Leafs logo maybe, and I had forgotten what it looked like. And then I was like, oh no, that's supposed to be a jet. It's just boring. It's just a boring logo. There's not really much entertaining, and maybe it would be better without the circle around it. Like, if you just increase the size of the jet inside, maybe it would be better. But yeah, I agree. It just didn't really work for me.
Number 19, I went with the Arizona Coyotes. This one, I think it's a decent logo. I just think that the problem that I have with this one is it's just a coyote head. I want something else with it. I think that's my biggest problem is it doesn't feel complete. It's like someone drew it and then was like gonna go back and finish it, and then they just like, had something better to do, found a new Netflix show or something and gave up on it. So that's just something about it doesn't feel complete.
So for number 18, I did the Carolina Hurricanes. And there's nothing wrong with the logo. It just kind of feels basic. It's just a black and a red circle. Kind of looks like a hurricane. It's just, just whatever. It's fine. That's about it.
Number 18, I went with Tampa Bay Lightning. I agree with you. It's essentially a lightning bolt with Tampa Bay written above it. I'll just leave it at that.
For number 17, I have the Buffalo Sabres. Now, in concept, I think it's a fun logo. You got a buffalo. Buffaloes are cool. You've got some sabers. My problem is, because the sabers are crossed, it just looks like scissors to me. And it looks like scissors cutting a buffalo. And I couldn't unsee that once I saw that. And I couldn't take it seriously after that point. But I think it's, of the logos, it's fun. It's, there's a lot going on that, work. I can't just see scissors cutting a buffalo now. It's just all I see.
You kind of just ruined that logo for me.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry.
Man. Okay, number 17, we almost matched again. I went with Carolina Hurricanes. I think the red and black I like the color combination, but I agree with you. It's essentially just like a swirl of red and black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for number 16, I did the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is, again, another little biased one because it's the Penguins, and
we don't like Crybaby Crosby.
We hate Cindy Crosby, and
Shrek.
And Shrek Mulkin. They stole a Stanley Cup from us one year, 2008 or 2009. Which year was it?
2009.
2009. Yeah. And it's just a goofy-looking penguin with a hockey stick. And it just looks goofy, They got rid of the Ducks, goofy cartoon logo. I liked that one better than I liked the penguin. I mean, I guess it's fun that there's a little ice skating penguin with a hockey stick, but it just seems a little silly. Yeah. A little too silly for me. And I'm a little biased against the Penguins, so it's part of it too.
Number 16, I went with Columbus Blue Jackets. I think this one, to me, works in a way that the Dallas Stars didn't, with the star in the inside, because there's something wrapped around it. I like the color, but I agree with you. Now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't really make sense with the name. I didn't even think about that until right now. But I think in terms of, trying to make it more than just, a star logo, I think they accomplished something.
So, for number 15, I did the LA Kings. And I kind of agree with what you're saying in that it seems a little basic. But I just think it looks clean. It's just black and white, essentially, and the LA at least looks nice, and it's got a small logo on the bottom, and it kind of has the shield design, like a king, medieval kind of theme to it. I just think it looks clean. To be honest, that's why I ranked it as high as I did. But I can certainly agree that it seems a little basic.
So number 15, I did the Nashville Predators. This one is kind of similar to the Arizona Coyotes, where it's just kind of feels a little bit incomplete, but I actually really like the color combination of the Nashville Predators. Is one of my favorite color combinations in the NHL in terms of jersey as well. And I do like the kind of side shot of the predator. I don't know, it was like a saber-toothed tiger or something.
Yeah, I think so. Some sort of big cat.
And I think the design is interesting. I think it's definitely a little bit more unique than some of the other ones.
So for number 14, I did the New York Rangers. The Rangers and the Kings are essentially the same ranking because it's essentially the same thing. They're both shield-looking logos with words and a design. I just think the New York Rangers one works a little better. There's a little more color and a little more design going on with it. But again, it's another one of those ones where it's just words, on it. Isn't as appealing to me as some of the other ones are.
Mm-hmm. So number 14, I went with the Philadelphia Flyers. To me, it's one of the most interesting logos because I'm not really sure what it is all the way, but I really like it. I like how it's mostly the black logo, and then you get a little bit of the orange in it. I don't know. It's when you look at it, my attention kept getting drawn to it because I was somewhat confused as to what I was looking at, but also it's intriguing.
So for number 13, I did the Ottawa Senators. And the reason I understood what you were saying in that you just couldn't decide what was wrong with it. I think it's certainly an interesting logo. And I wish the color scheme was a little different because I think that's what the issue is you've got a kind of gold and a red that kind of looks like a Roman sort of hat, an old Roman hat, a warrior hat, but it also has wings, blackish wings Or is that green? I can't tell from
I think
here.
it's black.
So I think the color scheme could be better. But I just like kind of liked the logo because it was pretty different from a lot of the other ones, and it just kind of appealed to me.
Yeah. So number 13, I went with the Minnesota Wild.
Okay.
Which you were not happy about that one.
No.
I agree with you. I don't really like the color combination. The thing I like about Minnesota Wilds, though, is it's kind of like an interpretation logo. Because I was reading an article online about how some people think it's like more supposed to be a bear. But if you look at it, it's kind of like, it looks like almost a moon and like trees in a sky. But I think you can kind of interpret it, which a lot of these logos, I don't think there's much interpretation. I mean, New Jersey Devils is a little bit, I feel like there's a couple. It was thought-provoking for me, which a lot of them weren't. That's why it kind of got so high up on my list.
So number 11, I did the Vancouver Canucks, which I know you ranked.
Are we on 12?
Are we on 12? Oh, we are on 12.
I was gonna say.
Sorry. Number 12, I did the Nashville Predators. And I agree. I think that the color combination is good. Also, the jerseys themselves. But I think the color combination on the Predator, I just think its teeth are a little too long. I wish they were a little shorter because it just seems...
It's almost like he's about to bite his own neck.
Yeah, it's like he's going to puncture his jugulars with his teeth. It's probably just because I majored in zoology in college, so like I spent a lot of time looking at animals and stuff like that. So it's just that's how my brain works. But I do like the side profile, and I think the color scheme. It's kind of almost minimalistic in a way. There's a lot of white space, but I think it looks really nice.
Yeah. So number 12, I went with the San Jose Sharks. To me, it's like I really like this one. It looks really like 90s, like retro looking, and I really actually enjoy the concept. We also had family who were big Sharks fans, so we kind of like supported them from a distance. But yeah, I just think it looks really retro. I think it reminds me of something out of the 90s, and I think in terms of it being more like of a fun logo, I think it's definitely up there.
So for number 11, I had the Vancouver Canucks. And I know you had this ranked relatively lower on your list because you said it looked like a child did it. While I'm not huge on the Vancouver word on top of it, I just like the look of the animal logo. I don't know if I'm just drawn to logos with animals on them in a general sense because I tended to rank animal logos higher on my list. But it just kind of looks like a little whale, like a kind of little whale thing going on there. I just liked it.
Yeah. So number 11, I went with the Montreal Canadiens, which you had pretty low. I agree it's really basic, but I also think there's something like simplistic about it that does work. I think some of these logos that ended up lower on my list, something about them didn't work, but I don't know if it's the mix of the colors. I don't know. It's because it is really just a C, but there's also like some design in the center of it. I think that elevates it a little bit. I don't know. Sometimes I do enjoy like the basic kind of simple logos.
So now we're at our top 10.
Mm-hmm. We have very different.
We have very different lists. We maybe get one on the same number. Who's to say? But it'll be interesting to see going in. So for number 10, I did the Seattle Kraken. Krakens or Kraken? Seattle Kraken?
Kraken, I think.
Kraken. For number 10, I did the Seattle Kraken. And I don't know if it's because this is a new team. That's a clean looking logo. It's bright. The color scheme looks really nice, and again, this is a one where it's just a letter, but it's kind of made to look like a sea creature, almost like an octopus or like a snake, and I just think it looks really appealing. And I don't know if it's because this is like a new logo, so it's like clearly it's not like based on something from the 1930s or anything like that, but it just looks really clean. It was very appealing to me when I saw it.
Release the Kraken!
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so number 10, I went with the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is one of those where I think having the word direct in the logo works. I think partly because it's not huge, you can't really see it that well, but the leaf just looks so nice. I mean, the design on the leaf looks amazing. I love the blue color they picked. I think to me it's one of the cleaner looking logos. And like I said, this is like one of the only ones where I didn't mind the writing in the inside.
So for number 9, I did the Florida Panthers, and I certainly agree with you that it doesn't look like a hockey logo, but that panther looks so pleasant. He just looks like very content and happy, And it's just like a pleasant looking panther. And I don't hate the Florida at the top in red. I know you said you didn't like the red part at the top, but I kept like trying to put it lower on my list and it kept just going up higher, and I was like, all right, I think this seems about right. Yeah, I just kind of liked it.
That's fair. So number 9, I did go with Seattle Kraken. I agree with you. I think it looks really clean. I think it looks really cool. I really like the little red detail in there they added. The color, that's one of my favorite colors. Maybe that's why I like it a lot.
The teal, it's like a two-tone teal.
Yeah. But I think it looks really nice. Like, you can tell it's a current logo. You definitely can tell it's more current. But also it kind of reminds me a little bit of, like, the almost design, like, the, what was that team?
Raptors?
No.
The Raptors. Yeah, they were...
That team, well, the hockey team we used to go
I thought it was
watch.
the. I thought it was the Raptors.
Toronto Raptors. Rattlers?
No, I think it was Raptors.
Oh, okay. Anyways, regardless, we'll just cut this out.
They were like a
semi-professional hockey
team that was local.
It reminds me kind of that design, but I do agree. I think it just looks really nice.
So for number 8, I put Toronto Maple Leafs, and I essentially agree with everything that you say, where I don't mind the words in this, even though it's the entire team name, Toronto Maple Leafs, inside the leaf. I think it works because that's not the main focus. Mm-hmm. The main focus is your eye is drawn to the leaf first and foremost, and I'm glad they went back to their older design, because the design they used for a long time more recently was a simplistic version of the leaf, and I think having the ridges, which is essentially, this is what a maple leaf looks like, I think it draws your eye to it, and the color scheme works really well with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so number 8, I went with the Boston Bruins. It is a pretty simple logo. It does just have the B, but I think having the circle around it and then kind of these, like, crosses in between, I really like the color. The yellow and the black, I think, goes well together. I think it's one of those logos where there's not necessarily a lot going on, but at the same time, like, it catches your eye right away, and I think it keeps you wanting to look at it.
For number 7, I did the St. Louis Blues. And I know that you said you liked, in a general sense, you liked the logo, but I just really like the look of it. It's very simplistic, but I like the blue color. I like that it's just a straight up a music note with like a wing on it. It's pretty simplistic, but I just think it works. For me, it's a minimalistic design that works.
Okay, so number 7, I went with New Jersey Devils, which you had very low.
Yes.
I will admit, when I first looked at it, I wrote it at the bottom of my list. And I kept looking at it, and to me, it looks like a devil who's sitting back with his one knee crossed over the other leg.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if that's what that's meant to be interpreted as, but there's something just so appealing. I don't know if that says a lot about me that I find, like, devils appealing.
Do you also like to grind on the devil, Hannah?
Yeah. But I kept putting it higher and higher on my list, and I do like the red in this one. I like this a lot more than the Calgary red that they picked. But yeah, I just like to picture the devil kind of chilling back, having his legs, like, crossed over each other. Yeah.
So for number 6, I did the Vegas Golden Knights. That's what they're called, right?
Ding, 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 ding. We have a patch.
So, the reason I like this design is it just, like, looks so clean. It's pretty simplistic. It's essentially just like a helmet with a black background, but it's got the shield background and it has a very appealing helmet. There's a lot of detail to the helmet itself, which I think really lends to the design and the look of the design. And I love a black and gold color scheme. I think that always works really well together. So I just really liked both the color and the design. I thought worked really well together.
You can tell it's one of the newest logos. Yeah. Like, in a good way.
Because that team, was that 2016?
They were within the last couple of years.
Yeah,
they were an expansion
more
team.
Recently, yeah.
I agree. It's really clean looking. The black and gold works really well together. I also just think it looks almost like the night helmet's, like, coming at you almost.
It almost looks like it's projecting forward, yeah.
Which I think with new technology, obviously new design, they're able to do that better. But yeah, it's to me, it's one of the cleanest logos out there, and I think it looks really nice.
So for number 5, I have the Arizona Coyotes. I really like the howling head. That was one of the ones that drew my eye really quickly. And I like that it's just a head. I like that it's just a howling little coyote head, and the colors look nice. And again, I just like animal designs. I'm drawn to that in a general sense. It appeals to me. And I thought it was the best done head of an animal.
That's fair.
Specifically, the head of an animal.
So number 5, I went with New York Islanders.
Okay.
I think this one is a really polarizing logo. Like, I think you either love it or you hate it. And I think the reason I love it is because I really like the orange and the blue and the white combo. And I know it does say New York Islanders inside of it. Again, I don't mind the name in it because I don't think the main focus is necessarily that. I also just think, like, it looks... I don't know. There's something about it that just... It looks, like, cartoonish almost, in a way.
Yeah, it like does. You're right. It does kind of look like a cartoon drawing almost.
Right. So I think maybe that's why I like it. But I think I understand. Like, I think it could be really polarizing.
For number 4, I have the Boston Bruins. And I agree that this is how you do a singular letter and make it interesting. Because it's a black bee. In a general concept, you've got a black bee, but then you have almost like a wheel design around it with yellow. And I'm generally not someone who's drawn to yellow as a design choice, especially on clothing, and with other colors. But the black and yellow and white, it really draws your eye to the logo, and it just is a logo I've always really liked in a general sense.
So number 4 was Buffalo Sabres. You kind of ruined the... Because now all I can see is a scissor cutting a buffalo in half. The reason I actually liked the cross sabers because I thought it was like a really cool like look, and I liked the buffalo being above it. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, well now I'm picturing a buffalo getting chopped in half.
I'm sorry I ruined that for you.
It's okay. I like the blue color in it a lot. I think the white looks nice with it, and I just think that... I think it was one of those that it feels a little bit more creative in terms of trying to do a little bit more than just put like a letter on a background. That's why I put it higher. I don't know, maybe now I'd put it lower.
So for number 3, I did the San Jose Sharks, and I agree that I think the design looks really retro. The design looks really retro. I like the color scheme. It's like blue and black, and I like, unlike the Penguins, where the Penguin, at least to me, looks a little silly with a hockey stick, the Shark's just eating the hockey stick. It's broken in half. And it's just kind of a fun design. Like, of all the logos, I think it's the funnest, and I think it works well with what it's showing. Yeah, I think it's the best animal design.
Yeah. Number 3, I went with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and biased me wanted to just put them at the bottom because I hate the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I think my love of penguins is like impacting my opinions. I also just think that it's like a fun logo. I think it works. Like the idea of a penguin on ice skates to me is just really funny, because have you ever seen like penguins when they just like waddle and just fall on ice?
Yes.
So I'm just picturing a penguin skating. Like I think it's fun. I do agree that the penguin does look a little bit kiddish at times, but I think it's fun. Like I think it's a fun logo. I think it's creative. And I think it's one of those logos that I'm pretty sure this one is one of those that hasn't changed in a while either.
I looked it up. It essentially has been almost the exact same logo with some slight variations.
Yeah, but I'm not mad about it.
So for number 2, I did the Philadelphia Flyers. And I certainly agree with you when you said your eye's drawn to it, because when I went on the page, my eye immediately went to the Flyers logo. And it's weird because, as I've said, I'm not necessarily drawn to just a letter, but this is a P with wing, like flying. It's a flying P.
It's a P.
It's a P, yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it's a flying P. It is a angled P that's flying.
Oh my god. I thought it was a hockey puck at first.
The middle, I think, is supposed to be a hockey puck.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think it's a hockey puck surrounded by a P that's sideways flying. And I don't even think the Flyers jerseys are that great in a general sense.
No, I wouldn't say.
At least they're away. Is it their away jerseys?
I wouldn't say they're up there, but yeah.
But I really like the logo. That's what I said when I mean that I like individual letters can work if they're done creatively, and this is a really creative way to use a letter, but also they're the Flyers. So it's got flying, it's got the wings from the P. I like the black. I like the white and the little orange highlight, because I think if they did too much orange, it would become unappealing. I just really like it.
Yeah. Number 2, I went with Colorado Avalanche. I love this logo. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love this logo. When I pulled up the list of all the logos, that one and another one immediately caught my eye. I actually really like the color scheme. I know you said that was one of the things you weren't crazy about. I think the color scheme works, and I love, like, the avalanche kind of coming down through the A. This is one where they did put an A. It's a letter, but they have more around it.
Right.
Biased aside, because I hate Colorado Avalanche, I love this logo, and if it weren't for one other logo, like, this one would be number 1 to me.
Well, I think it was not necessarily a surprise, and I kind of expected that we would have the same number 1 logo, but it's Detroit Red Wings. I'm going to look at my own jersey that I'm wearing right now. It's almost like it's so intricate that it shouldn't work, because there are so many lines and details, but it's just a straight up wing with a wheel. It's a red wing. It's a red wheel wing. It's a red wing. It just works.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's supposed to be. I don't know who made this, made the logo.
It actually originated, I believe, from Montreal.
Okay.
I think it's because of wheel, Detroit
for automotive.
Motor City, right. And then, the wings coming out the back. I didn't want to just be biased and pick this as my favorite. I think it'd be different if this logo wasn't as good and clean as it is.
It's a good logo.
And to make sure I wasn't being totally biased, after I ranked all my logos, I went on a couple sites and saw what, the general, there's, sports writers and people who ranked them. Almost every list, the Red Wings were within the, top 5, top 3. A couple, they were the number 1 logo. Right. Red Wings logo really hasn't changed.
I looked it up, it's had very few changes over
Very
the
few
years.
variations.
Yeah.
There's only 2 colors. It's red and white.
Yeah.
It's so simplistic, yet so complex at the same time.
And it also isn't an obnoxious red. It's a red that works. It's almost like a lighter red. And I like that there's no black. I like that it's just the white is the line. You've got
That's
red
what fills
and white.
In,
yeah, it's white what fills it in instead of black, which a lot of logos would use black as a surrounding color, an outline. And it's very unique.
Yeah.
It's because it's at an angle and it's more rectangular. A lot of the logos tend to be very circular and symmetrical, in a sense that they're very square-esque or circle-esque and not oblong. And this is one of the only ones that feels very oblong and kind of weirdly shaped.
Yeah.
But it's very appealing.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, we do have a bit of bias.
Oh, certainly.
But, I think from what I've seen on other sites, it tends to be one of the highest ranked logos up there. So, I think it's fair, justified.
And also, Detroit's one of the only teams that can effectively pull off red as a sports color and make it look good.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to make red, just a straight up red jersey, look good.
Your eyes are so bloodshot right now.
Really? Oh.
They look like they're so dry.
Well, I'm going to go to the eye doctor tomorrow and they're going to be like, what's wrong with you? I don't know why they're so dry. Do you have eye drops here?
I do in my bag.
It might also be because it's
probably
1 in the morning.
Yeah, and also probably because...
We've been smoking all those
marijuana.
Smoking J's. No, we haven't.
No, we do not.
Even though weed is legal here, we did not smoke.
No, we did not.
Before we did this podcast.
We did drink,
just to be clear. Yeah, we did drink, but...
That's the usual. So.
Yeah, I know, right? That's not surprising.
But yeah, I think it was actually kind of fun looking through all these logos.
I like objectively judging things just based on the look, because again, our lists were very different.
Usually our lists are somewhat similar.
Relatively similar, yeah.
But, my top 5 minus...
We only had one of the same in the top 5.
In, Buffalo, New York Islanders, Pittsburgh, and Colorado, you had all those, fairly low down your list, so...
Yeah, same with, my top 5, you had most of those, in your mid-range.
But, yeah, I think I like doing sports stuff.
Yeah, well, although I'm not, a super, I don't really watch a lot of sports... because I don't have a TV, so I can't really do live stuff for the most part on my laptop, nor do I really seek out to watch live sports by myself. But there's something just fun about it, because, like, sports teams, there's, like, the camaraderie, there's, like, the wearing your sports teams logos and jerseys. Like, I'm currently wearing a good old Datsuk Red Wings jersey right now.
Magic Man.
Shout out to Datsuk, number 13. Sad he decided to retire before,
Yeah.
could have kept going. But you know what? That's beside the point. If you liked this podcast, us doing sports, let us know, because we could do more sports. We're trying to tackle, a wide variety of things. Certainly things we're interested in, but also things that we're not interested in, or
and if you guys have any suggestions for like sports themed things you'd like to see us do, because we do like to do stuff that people who listen want to hear,
right?
And it gives us ideas, stuff we normally wouldn't do. So if you guys have any ideas for sports things, you can send us an email or let us know on Instagram or Twitter.
Right. Reach out to us on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Oh, we should go through our rankings again. Because we certainly this is a very long list. I just dropped my phone. Apologies to myself when I ended this later.
Okay.
Okay, so our official ranking list: 32 Washington Capitals, 31 Minnesota Wild, 30 Chicago Blackhawks, 29 Edmonton Oilers, 28 Montreal Canadiens, 27 New York Islanders, 26 Columbus Blue Jackets, 25 Anaheim Ducks, 24 Dallas Stars, 23 New Jersey Devils, 22 Colorado Avalanche, 21 Calgary Flames, 20 Tampa Bay Lightning, 19 Winnipeg Jets, 18 Carolina Hurricanes, 17 Buffalo Sabres, 16 Pittsburgh Penguins, 15 LA Kings, 14 New York Rangers, 13 Ottawa Senators, 12 Nashville Predators, 11 Vancouver Canucks, 10 Seattle Kraken, 9 Florida Panthers, 8 Toronto Maple Leafs, 7 St. Louis Blues, 6 Vegas Golden Kings, Vegas Golden Knights, 5 Arizona Coyotes, 4 Boston Bruins, 3 San Jose Sharks, 2 Philadelphia Flyers, and 1 Detroit Red Wings.
Okay, so I had 32 Chicago Blackhawks, 31 Anaheim Ducks, 30 Dallas Stars, 29 Ottawa Senators, 28 Vancouver Canucks, 27 Florida Panthers, 26 Edmonton Oilers, 25 Los Angeles Kings, 24 St. Louis Blues, 23 Washington Capitals, 22 Calgary Flames, 21 Winnipeg Jets, 20 New York Rangers, 19 Arizona Coyotes, 18 Tampa Bay Lightning, 17 Carolina Hurricanes, 16 Columbus Blue Jackets, 15 Nashville Predators, 14 Philadelphia Flyers, 13 Minnesota Wild, 12 San Jose Sharks, 11 Montreal Canadiens, 10 Toronto Maple Leafs, 9 Seattle Kraken, 8 Boston Bruins, 7 New Jersey Devils, 6 Vegas Golden Knights, 5 New York Islanders, 4 Buffalo Sabres, 3 Pittsburgh Pirates. No,
Baseball. That's baseball.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
It's baseball, but similar color scheme, yes.
Yeah. 2 Colorado Avalanche, and 1 the Detroit Red Wings.
Real takeaway here is that Detroit is Hockey City.
Detroit reigns supreme.
Not right now, though. Let's be fair, the Red Wings haven't been good in a few years.
Yeah.
We objectively know this.
We were spoiled because for the first 22 years of my life, they never were not in a playoff.
In a playoff, yes. They were collectively a great team for a very long time, and was the only hope we had for Detroit due to all of our other teams sucking.
And now they all suck.
They all suck. Yeah, there's no good team. There's no hope.
Oh.
They're always going to let us down, Hannah.
Especially those Lions.
Who knows, maybe one day they'll actually get further than one round in the playoffs.
But yeah.
Yep. Moral of the story, Detroit sports will let you down sometimes, but at least they have good logo.
That's true.
A good logo, you know?
That is true.
Bye.
Bye. We would like to thank Joseph McDade for our intro music. He provides free music available for all kinds of creative use. The song that we used is called Sunrise Expedition, and you can find it and his other music on his website, josephmcdade.com. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at r3podcasts@gmail.com. That's R, the number 3, podcasts@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram by searching Research Rank Repeat.